Last night, your person broke down before their friends and cried, and said listen, and don't scroll, stay right here, because this story doesn't begin with drama meant for you to hear, it begins with a moment you weren't present for but somehow felt in your chest. You didn't get a message. You didn't get a call. But something shifted, and your body noticed before your mind could explain it. There was a heaviness, a pull, like a thread tightening between two hearts that never really disconnected. Listen to this carefully, because what happened last night wasn't planned. It wasn't rehearsed. It spilled out when they thought it was safe to let the mask drop. Surrounded by familiar faces, they tried to laugh it off, tried to keep the conversation light, until suddenly they couldn't anymore. Their voice cracked. Their eyes filled. And the words came out before they could stop them. Don't skip this part, because the breakdown didn't come from weakness. It came from holding too much for too long. From pretending they were fine when they weren't. From carrying feelings they didn't know how to name without feeling exposed. And in that moment, in front of people who knew them well, the truth pushed its way out. Stay right here, because when they said, listen, it wasn't just to their friends. It was a plea to be understood. To finally be honest without consequences. To admit something they had been circling around silently. And even though you weren't in the room, that honesty rippled outward. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. They didn't cry because they wanted sympathy. They cried because something unresolved finally reached the surface. Something they kept compartmentalized, tucked away, hoping time would make it easier. Time didn't. It made it heavier. Listen closely, because the words they struggled to finish weren't neat. They didn't sound brave or romantic. They sounded raw. Confused. Human. They admitted they were tired of pretending they had moved on. Tired of acting like something didn't matter when it clearly still did. Stay with me, because this is where the story matters. They weren't talking about the past in general. They were talking about one connection that never settled properly inside them. One person whose absence didn't fade the way they expected it to. One name they avoided saying out loud. Don't skip this, because when someone breaks down like that, it's usually after a long period of emotional restraint. After choosing silence instead of vulnerability. After convincing themselves they could handle it alone. And last night, that strategy finally failed. Listen to this carefully, because their friends were surprised. Some of them thought this chapter was closed. Some of them thought your person was fine. And that's the thing about quiet suffering, it convinces everyone else that nothing is wrong. Stay right here, because you may have felt that same quiet suffering on your side too. Wondering if you imagined the depth. Wondering if you mattered as much as it felt like you did. Wondering why something that felt so real ended without proper closure. Don't scroll, because this is where energy tells the truth words avoided. Even without knowing the details, you felt the weight lift and land somewhere else. Like a door cracked open emotionally after being sealed for too long. Listen closely, because what they said next wasn't about blame. It wasn't about regret framed as drama. It was about confusion. About not understanding how they could feel so strongly and still stay silent. About being scared of saying the wrong thing and losing control. Stay with me, because fear kept them quiet longer than lack of care ever did. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of rejection. Fear of reopening something they didn't know how to navigate. And fear has a way of convincing people that silence is safer than truth. Don't skip this part, because their friends didn't rush to fix it. They listened. They sat with the discomfort. And in that space, your person finally admitted what they had been avoiding. That pretending was exhausting. That holding it in was hurting more than speaking ever could. Listen to this carefully, because this doesn't mean they suddenly know exactly what to do. Emotional release doesn't equal instant clarity. But it does mean the wall cracked. And once it cracks, it's hard to pretend nothing's behind it. Stay right here, because you might be wondering if this means they're coming toward you. Or if this is just them processing privately. The truth is, both can be true at once. People often need to feel safe expressing pain before they can act with honesty. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. This breakdown wasn't about performing. It was about relief. About finally letting the truth breathe, even if only in a room where you weren't present. Listen closely, because what matters is not what their friend said next, but what shifted inside your person afterward. Something loosened. Something acknowledged itself. An acknowledgement is the first step toward clarity. Stay with me, because silence after a breakdown is different from silence before one. Before, silence was avoidance. After, silence is integration. They're sitting with what they said. With how it felt to finally say it. With what it means going forward. Don't skip this, because this doesn't guarantee an outcome. It doesn't promise a reunion or a message. But it does change the internal landscape. You can't unsay what was finally admitted. You can't unknow what surfaced. Listen to this carefully, because you may feel a strange mix of emotions right now. Validation. Sadness. Hope. Confusion. All of that is normal. When something hidden comes into the open, even indirectly, it stirs what was settled. Stay right here, because this moment isn't asking you to wait or chase. It's asking you to stay grounded. To recognize that whatever happens next will be influenced by truth, not avoidance. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You didn't imagine the connection. You didn't exaggerate the depth. When someone breaks down over something they thought they buried, it confirms that it mattered. Listen closely, because sometimes the universe doesn't give you direct messages. Sometimes it gives you confirmation through shifts you can feel but can't explain. Stay with me, because what comes next depends on courage. Not just theirs, but yours too. Courage to listen without rushing. Courage to speak if the moment comes. Courage to protect your peace if clarity doesn't follow. Don't skip this part, because breakdowns are crossroads. They don't guarantee direction, but they force honesty. And honesty has momentum. Listen to this carefully, because whether they reach out or not, you now know something important. The silence wasn't indifference. It was fear mixed with feeling. Stay right here, because that understanding doesn't mean you settle. It means you see clearly. You can hold compassion without sacrificing self-respect. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. If they speak, you'll listen from a grounded place. If they don't, you'll move forward knowing the truth surfaced when it needed to. Listen closely, because you are not responsible for what they do next. You're responsible for staying aligned with yourself. Stay with me, because this story isn't over, but it has shifted. Something that was locked inside them has been acknowledged out loud. And once truth is spoken, even in the wrong room, it tends to find its way where it belongs. Don't skip this final reflection. Last night wasn't about drama. It was about release. About honesty breaking through fear. About a heart admitting it couldn't carry everything alone anymore. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this, share it with someone who might need reassurance, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And stay till the end of this journey, because when truth starts surfacing, clarity is never far behind. Don't scroll, stay right here, because after a breakdown like that, nothing returns to normal inside a person, even if everything looks normal on the outside. Laughter resumes. Conversations change topics. People go home. But inside them, something keeps echoing, something they finally admitted out loud and now can't pretend they didn't. Listen to this carefully, because the hours after that moment are heavy in a different way. Not explosive, not chaotic, just dense. Thoughts replay what was said. The tone of their own voice. The looks on their friends' faces. And most of all, the realization that the truth didn't destroy them the way they feared it would. Don't skip this part, because this is where the silence you feel now is not distance, it's processing. They're sitting with the aftermath. With the vulnerability hangover. With the strange mix of relief and fear that comes from finally saying what's been buried. Stay right here, because even if you haven't heard a word from them, something inside the connection has shifted. When someone admits pain out loud, the energy changes. The weight redistributes. And you, on the other end of that invisible thread, feel it. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may have woken up feeling unsettled, emotional for no clear reason, or unusually calm. That's not coincidence. When truth moves through someone who matters to you, your system notices. Listen closely, because after a breakdown, people often do one of two things. They either retreat to protect themselves, or they feel an urge to finally be honest with the person who's been sitting quietly at the center of it all. Stay with me, because right now, they're caught between those two impulses. The instinct to pull inward and the pull to reach out. And both feel risky in different ways. Don't skip this, because fear hasn't disappeared. If anything, it's sharper. But it's different now. It's not fear of feeling. It's fear of consequence. Fear of what honesty might change. Fear of saying something that can't be taken back. Listen to this carefully, because fear only shows up where something matters. People don't break down over what they've truly moved on from. They don't cry over what has no emotional weight. They don't confess exhaustion over something that's resolved. Stay right here, because this is where memory starts surfacing for them. Not just the pain, but the good moments too. The laughter. The ease. The connection that didn't require performance. And remembering those things after admitting loss hits differently. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. They're replaying moments they brushed past before. Conversations they avoided finishing. Feelings they minimized to stay in control. And control no longer feels worth the cost. Listen closely, because control was the reason for the silence. Not indifference. Not lack of care. Control. The need to keep emotions contained so they wouldn't spill into chaos. Stay with me, because now they've seen what happens when containment fails. It doesn't destroy them. It humanizes them. And that realization is unsettling but freeing. Don't skip this part, because you may feel a pull to reach out. Or you may feel a hesitation, a sense of wait. Both instincts are understandable. When something shifts beneath the surface, timing matters. Listen to this carefully, because right now, the most important thing isn't what either of you says. It's what neither of you rushes. Truth has its own pace once it's been unlocked. Stay right here, because they're questioning their own choices now. The choice to stay quiet. The choice to protect others from discomfort. The choice to avoid vulnerability. And questioning those choices opens the door to different behavior. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may notice them watching more closely. Reading between lines. Being more present without saying much. That's not distance. That's awareness. Listen closely, because when someone finally admits pain, they become more sensitive to it everywhere else. Including how their silence may have affected you. Stay with me, because guilt may surface for them. Not dramatic guilt, but quiet recognition. Recognition that by not speaking, they left you to carry uncertainty alone. Don't skip this, because recognition is the seed of accountability. It doesn't always bloom immediately, but it changes how someone sees their past behavior. Listen to this carefully, because accountability doesn't always come as an apology first. Sometimes it comes as a shift in energy. A softening. A hesitation before disappearing again. Stay right here, because this is where you might feel cautious hope. Not the kind that rushes forward, but the kind that says, something is different now. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Hope doesn't mean expectation. It means openness without attachment to outcome. Listen closely, because you're not meant to chase this moment. You're meant to witness it. To let it reveal what it will without forcing it to become something specific. Stay with me, because forcing clarity too soon can send someone back into defense. And defense is where silence lives. Don't skip this part, because silence after vulnerability is often about integration. They're learning how to hold what they feel without collapsing under it. Listen to this carefully, because you're doing your own integration too. Processing what it means that you weren't wrong. That you didn't imagine the depth. That something real was happening even when nothing was said. Stay right here, because validation can be comforting and painful at the same time. Comforting because it confirms your intuition. Painful because it confirms how long it went unspoken. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're allowed to feel both relief and sadness. Relief that it mattered. Sadness that it took so long to be acknowledged. Listen closely, because your role right now is not to fix or rescue. It's to stay grounded in yourself. To not shrink. To not rush toward someone else's emotional opening without protecting your own stability. Stay with me, because grounded presence is what creates safe conversations when they finally happen. Don't skip this, because when people break down, they often need time before they know what they want to do with the truth they released. That doesn't mean they'll ignore it. It means they're recalibrating. Listen to this carefully, because recalibration can feel slow to the person waiting. But it's necessary if honesty is going to be sustainable instead of impulsive. Stay right here, because you may start noticing subtle signals. A message that feels more intentional. A check-in that wasn't there before. Or even just a different tone when they do speak. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Small changes matter. They're often more honest than grand gestures. Listen closely, because you're not obligated to interpret everything. You're allowed to observe without narrating the story in your head. Stay with me, because this is where self-trust becomes your anchor. You don't need to assume the best or the worst. You can simply notice what's real. Don't skip this part, because something important is happening whether or not it leads back to you directly. Someone you cared about is learning how to feel honestly. And that matters, even if the outcome is still unknown. Listen to this carefully, because sometimes the gift isn't reunion. It's truth. And truth frees both people in different ways. Stay right here, because you're not being asked to wait forever. You're being asked to wait wisely. With boundaries. With self-respect. With awareness. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Waiting wisely means you don't pause your life. You don't stop moving forward. You simply don't rush emotional conclusions. Listen closely, because your life continues regardless of what they decide. And that doesn't diminish the connection. It honors your wholeness. Stay with me, because you're allowed to hold compassion for their breakdown without turning it into obligation. Compassion doesn't require self-sacrifice. Don't skip this, because obligation is what kept them silent in the first place. You don't need to repeat that pattern. Listen to this carefully, because when honesty begins to surface, it tends to keep surfacing. Even if it takes time. Even if it comes in waves. Stay right here, because you're closer to clarity than you were before. Not because you have answers, but because truth has entered the space. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Trust that whatever happens next will be influenced by that truth, not by avoidance. Listen closely, because the silence that follows vulnerability is not empty. It's full of possibility and decision. Stay with me, because whether they speak to you or not, you now stand on firmer ground. You know what you felt was real. You know why the silence existed. And you know you didn't imagine the connection. Don't skip this final reflection. Last night wasn't just about their breakdown. It was about a turning point. A moment where truth stopped hiding behind composure. And when truth starts moving, it doesn't go back to sleep easily. Stay present. Stay grounded. Stay connected to yourself. Because clarity, in one form or another, is already on its way. Don't scroll, stay right here, because this is the stage where everything slows down on the outside but speeds up on the inside. This is where the emotional dust from that breakdown hasn't settled yet, and both of you are moving through something quietly life-altering, even if neither of you has said a word about it. Listen to this carefully, because after admitting something that raw, a person doesn't immediately feel relief. They feel exposed. They feel seen in a way they didn't prepare for. And that exposure makes them review everything differently, including you, including the silence, including the choices they made to protect themselves instead of being honest. Don't skip this part, because this is where their mind starts replaying moments with new meaning. Things you said months ago suddenly sound different. Pauses they ignored feel louder. The distance they created doesn't feel neutral anymore. It feels heavy with consequence. Stay right here, because you may feel them thinking about you more than you ever have before. Not romantically idealizing, not fantasizing, but really thinking. Questioning their behavior. Wondering how you interpreted the silence. Wondering what it cost you emotionally. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. This is when awareness deepens. When someone realizes that staying silent didn't protect anyone, it just delayed truth. And delayed truth has weight. Listen closely, because they're also confronting something uncomfortable about themselves. The fact that they leaned on friends for honesty instead of the person who mattered most. The fact that they chose safety over vulnerability. The fact that fear made decisions for them. Stay with me, because confronting that doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels humbling. It forces someone to see where they fell short, not as a villain, but as a human who avoided discomfort. Don't skip this, because avoidance always has a cost. And now, that cost is clear. It shows up as regret, not dramatic regret, but reflective regret. The kind that asks, what would have happened if I had spoken sooner? Listen to this carefully, because regret doesn't mean they want to go backward. It means they can no longer pretend the silence was harmless. Stay right here, because you might notice subtle emotional signals now. A hesitation before they pull away again. A softness in their tone. A lingering presence even when words are few. These are signs of someone who is reconsidering how they show up. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're not imagining the shift. It's not fantasy. Something inside them has been activated, and once activated, it doesn't fully shut down again. Listen closely, because this is also the stage where fear resurfaces in a new form. Not fear of feeling, but fear of accountability. Fear of saying something and being asked something in return. Fear of opening a door that requires consistency. Stay with me, because accountability is heavier than emotion. Emotion can be released in a moment. Accountability requires action over time. Don't skip this part, because they're asking themselves questions now they avoided before. Am I willing to communicate clearly? Am I willing to risk rejection? Am I willing to face the impact of my silence? Listen to this carefully, because these questions don't have immediate answers. And while they're being considered, the space between you holds tension, not the bad kind, but the honest kind. Stay right here, because this tension is different from before. Before, the tension came from unspoken feelings buried too deep. Now, it comes from feelings acknowledged but not yet directed. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You might feel a strange sense of calm mixed with anticipation. Not anxiety like before. Not waiting energy. More like awareness that something is unfolding on its own timeline. Listen closely, because you're not being asked to do anything right now. Not to reach out. Not to withdraw. Not to prepare a speech. You're being asked to stay centered. Stay with me, because staying centered means you don't rush to fill the space. You don't chase clarity. You don't punish silence. You simply observe from a grounded place. Don't skip this, because grounded observation is powerful. It allows truth to reveal itself without pressure. It lets people show you who they are becoming instead of who they say they are. Listen to this carefully, because you're also changing in this process. You're not the same person who waited blindly before. You now have context. Awareness. Emotional maturity shaped by experience. Stay right here, because you're no longer interpreting every pause as rejection. You're interpreting it as information. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Information gives you choice. And choice restores power. Listen closely, because you may notice that you're no longer fantasizing about how they might reach out. You're more curious about how you would respond if they did. Stay with me, because that shift matters. It means you're no longer orienting your emotions around them. You're orienting them around yourself. Don't skip this part, because self-orientation is what keeps you safe when others are uncertain. Listen to this carefully, because even if they do come forward, you will hear them differently now. You won't romanticize their vulnerability. You won't confuse tears with readiness. You'll listen for clarity, consistency, and accountability. Stay right here, because this is discernment forming. Not cynicism. Discernment. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Discernment allows you to stay open without being naive. Compassionate without being self-sacrificing. Listen closely, because the breakdown cracked something open, but it didn't complete the work. The work now is integration, for both of you. Stay with me, because integration takes time. It takes sitting with discomfort instead of escaping it. It takes aligning actions with realizations. Don't skip this, because many people retreat after vulnerability not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to follow through yet. Listen to this carefully, because follow-through is the real test. Not emotion. Not confession. Follow through. Stay right here, because you are now someone who understands that difference deeply. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're not waiting for them to become something. You're watching to see who they already are when things get real. Listen closely, because who someone is after emotional exposure tells you everything. Stay with me, because you're also noticing how much stronger you feel now. Not hardened. Stronger. You can hold ambiguity without losing yourself. Don't skip this part, because strength doesn't look like indifference. It looks like steadiness. Listen to this carefully, because you are steady now. You're not spiraling. You're not projecting. You're present. Stay right here, because presence allows you to respond instead of react. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're no longer waiting for proof that it mattered. You already know it did. Listen closely, because what mattered doesn't always stay. And what stays doesn't always arrive loudly. Stay with me, because you're prepared for any outcome now. Not emotionally detached, but emotionally equipped. Don't skip this, because being equipped means you can receive truth without collapsing. Listen to this carefully, because if they speak, you'll listen clearly. If they don't, you'll still move forward whole. Stay right here, because this chapter is no longer about them finding courage. It's about you maintaining alignment. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Alignment feels calm. It doesn't rush. It doesn't beg. Listen closely, because alignment trusts that what belongs with you will meet you with honesty, not hesitation. Stay with me, because whatever happens next will meet a version of you that no longer confuses silence with depth. Don't skip this final reflection. Last night cracked something open in them, but this season is solidifying something in you. You are no longer waiting for someone else to be ready to tell the truth. You are ready to live in it. Don't scroll, stay right here, because this is where everything finally settles into a deeper truth, not with a sudden message or dramatic confession, but with a calm understanding that changes how you hold the entire story. This is the phase where you stop feeling suspended between hope and doubt and start standing firmly in yourself. Listen to this carefully, because the emotional noise has quieted now. Not disappeared, but softened. You're no longer replaying their breakdown in your head, wondering what it means, wondering what comes next. You've absorbed what needed to be absorbed. The rest is no longer yours to carry. Don't skip this part, because something powerful has happened inside you. You're not waiting for them to be ready anymore. You're not measuring time in days since they spoke or didn't speak. You've stepped out of emotional limbo, and that step didn't require permission. Stay right here, because you've begun to recognize the difference between empathy and entanglement. You can feel compassion for what they're going through without tying your future to how quickly they heal or speak or decide. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You realize that their breakdown revealed truth, but it also revealed limitation. A limitation in communication. In timing. In emotional readiness. And seeing limitation clearly doesn't make you cold. It makes you honest. Listen closely, because honesty is what grounds you now. You're honest about how much it mattered. Honest about how much it hurt. Honest about what you need in order to stay open with someone. And honesty simplifies everything. Stay with me, because this is where emotional clarity turns into emotional strength. You're no longer bracing for disappointment or preparing for reunion. You're simply present with what is, and what is feels manageable. Don't skip this, because you may notice that your body feels different. Less tight. Less alert. Your nervous system isn't scanning for signs anymore. That's not detachment. That's safety returning to your body. Listen to this carefully, because safety doesn't come from certainty about someone else. It comes from certainty about yourself. And you've reached that point quietly, without drama. Stay right here, because you're also seeing the past with clearer eyes now. You're not romanticizing the silence anymore. You're not excusing it either. You see it as part of the story, not the definition of it. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You understand that someone can feel deeply and still not know how to show up in a way that's healthy for you. And that understanding frees you from trying to fix what isn't yours to fix. Listen closely, because this is where you stop waiting for an apology or explanation to validate your experience. You validate it yourself. You trust what you felt. You trust what you endured. Stay with me, because trusting yourself is the turning point. It means you don't need confirmation from their words to know the connection was real. You also don't need confirmation to know that silence wasn't sustainable. Don't skip this part, because you may notice how your expectations shift naturally now. You're not hoping for a grand emotional gesture. You're looking for consistency, communication, and presence. And if those aren't offered, you don't negotiate with yourself anymore. Listen to this carefully, because this doesn't mean you've closed your heart. It means your heart has standards now. Stay right here, because standards don't push love away. They filter out confusion so love can arrive clearly. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're also becoming more gentle with yourself about how long this took. Healing doesn't follow deadlines. Awareness arrives when you're ready to integrate it. Listen closely, because you didn't waste time. You learned timing. You learned discernment. You learn the cost of silence and the value of truth. Stay with me, because this learning changes how you move forward. You're no longer afraid of speaking your needs early. You're no longer afraid of asking direct questions. You're no longer afraid of walking away from uncertainty. Don't skip this, because fear once kept both of you quiet in different ways. You're breaking that pattern now. Listen to this carefully, because breaking a pattern doesn't require confrontation. It requires choice. And you've already chosen differently by choosing clarity within yourself. Stay right here, because you may notice that you're no longer rehearsing conversations in your head. You're no longer preparing for what you might say if they finally open up. You trust that if a conversation happens, you'll respond honestly in the moment. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. That trust in yourself is new, and it's powerful. Listen closely, because you're also recognizing that you don't need every story to end neatly. Some chapters close because you've outgrown the version of yourself who kept waiting. Stay with me, because outgrowing doesn't mean dismissing. It means integrating. Don't skip this part, because you may still feel tenderness when you think of them. Tenderness doesn't mean attachment. It means humanity. Listen to this carefully, because you're allowed to care without clinging. You're allowed to remember without returning. You're allowed to honor what was without reopening it. Stay right here, because this balance is emotional maturity. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're no longer asking the universe for signs about them. You're listening for signals about alignment. Listen closely, because alignment feels calm, not urgent. It feels mutual, not one-sided. It feels spoken, not hidden. Stay with me, because this is what you're now oriented toward. Not intensity. Not mystery. Not emotional drama. But grounded connection. Don't skip this, because this orientation will shape what comes next in your life more than any unresolved conversation ever could. Listen to this carefully, because if they reach out now, you'll meet them differently. You won't rush to reassure. You won't minimize your needs. You'll listen with compassion and clarity at the same time. Stay right here, because compassion without clarity leads to self-sacrifice. Clarity without compassion leads to walls. You're learning to hold both. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. And if they don't reach out, you won't feel abandoned. You'll feel complete. Listen closely, because completeness doesn't come from closure. It comes from self-alignment. Stay with me, because alignment has replaced anticipation in your life. You're not anticipating an outcome anymore. You're living in the present. Don't skip this part, because presence allows joy to return. Not forced joy. Not distraction. Genuine moments of lightness that don't depend on anyone else's decisions. Listen to this carefully, because you're starting to feel excited about your own life again. About what's ahead. About who you're becoming. Stay right here, because this is the true resolution of this chapter. Not whether they speak. Not whether they return. But whether you stayed true to yourself through uncertainty. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You did. Listen closely, because that breakdown last night didn't just crack something open in them. It completed something in you. Stay with me, because you are no longer waiting for truth to arrive from outside. You are living in it now. And from this place, whatever love comes next will meet you openly, clearly, and without fear. That is how this chapter truly ends. Don't scroll, stay right here, because this is the moment where everything you've walked through finally becomes wisdom instead of weight. Not something you carry heavily anymore, but something that steadies you. This is where the story stops pulling at you emotionally and starts standing quietly behind you, no longer asking to be revisited. Listen to this carefully, because you are no longer waiting for movement from them to validate what you felt. That chapter already told you the truth in its own way. You heard it in the silence. You felt it in your body. And now, you're no longer negotiating with yourself about what it meant. Don't skip this part, because this is where emotional independence fully settles in. Not the kind that pushes people away, but the kind that allows you to stay open without losing your footing. You're not bracing anymore. You're not guarding your heart aggressively. You're simply grounded. Stay right here, because grounding changes everything. It changes how you remember them. The memories aren't sharp now. They're soft, neutral, honest. You can acknowledge the connection without romanticizing the pain or minimizing the truth. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You realize you don't need a final conversation to close this. Closure happened gradually, through understanding, through growth, through the way you stopped abandoning yourself while waiting for someone else to be brave. Listen closely, because bravery looks different to you now. It's not emotional confession without follow-through. It's not vulnerability without responsibility. Bravery is consistency. It's communication. It's choosing clarity even when it's uncomfortable. Stay with me, because this realization reshapes how you view love entirely. Love isn't something that keeps you guessing. It isn't something that lives in pauses and breakdowns alone. Love is something that shows up again after the emotion passes. Don't skip this, because you're no longer impressed by intensity. You're impressed by steadiness. You're not moved by dramatic emotion anymore. You're moved by reliability. Listen to this carefully, because reliability didn't exist in that story the way you needed it to. And admitting that doesn't invalidate what you felt. It honors what you require now. Stay right here, because you may notice how calm your days feel lately. Not empty. Calm. You're not waking up with that tight feeling in your chest anymore. You're not scanning your phone subconsciously. Your mind is quieter. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Quiet doesn't mean loneliness. It means peace has room to exist again. Listen closely, because peace doesn't come from answers. It comes from alignment. And you are aligned now in a way you weren't before. Stay with me, because alignment means you no longer chase meaning. You let meaning reveal itself. You don't rush connection. You let it unfold. Don't skip this part, because you're also noticing how your boundaries have strengthened without you announcing them. You don't tolerate vague energy anymore. You don't stay in spaces where you're unsure of your place. Listen to this carefully, because this doesn't make you demanding. It makes you self-aware. Stay right here, because you understand now that when someone truly values a connection, they don't leave it undefined for long. They don't let silence speak for them. They don't let fear make decisions indefinitely. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're no longer trying to understand why they broke down, why they waited so long, why they stayed quiet. Those questions don't have power over you anymore. Listen closely, because you've accepted that some people awaken emotionally after the moment has passed. And that awakening, while meaningful for them, doesn't obligate you to wait. Stay with me, because obligation is something you've released. You're no longer obligated to hold space for someone who couldn't meet you in honesty when it mattered. Don't skip this, because releasing obligation doesn't mean releasing compassion. You still wish them well. You still recognize their humanity. You simply don't sacrifice yourself to accommodate their timing. Listen to this carefully, because timing matters. And alignment matters more. Stay right here, because you've also noticed something else. You trust yourself now. Deeply. You trust your instincts. You trust your emotional responses. You trust that you'll recognize misalignment sooner next time. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. Self-trust is the gift this entire experience left behind. Listen closely, because self-trust doesn't come from easy love stories. It comes from navigating confusion without losing your values. Stay with me, because you didn't harden through this. You softened in the right places and strengthened in the necessary ones. Don't skip this part, because you're no longer afraid of vulnerability. You're afraid of silence without explanation. And that awareness protects you. Listen to this carefully, because you now know the difference between someone opening emotionally and someone opening responsibly. Stay right here, because responsibility is what you require now. Emotional honesty paired with action. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're no longer romanticizing someone else's struggle. You're prioritizing your own peace. Listen closely, because peace is not boring. Peace is what allows love to grow without anxiety. Stay with me, because you're starting to imagine a future that feels calm instead of dramatic. A connection where conversations happen before breakdowns. Where clarity comes before distance. Don't skip this, because this vision isn't fantasy. It's alignment. Listen to this carefully, because when the right connection arrives, you won't be confused by it. You won't feel unsettled. You won't feel like you're guessing. Stay right here, because that connection will feel mutual. Communicated. Grounded. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. And if someone from the past reappears with words that come too late, you'll listen calmly, not desperately. Listen closely, because you'll hear not just what they say, but what they're able to sustain. Stay with me, because sustainability is what you value now. Don't skip this part, because you are no longer living in reaction to someone else's emotional process. You are living in response to your own truth. Listen to this carefully, because truth doesn't rush. It settles. Stay right here, because this is where the story truly ends. Not with reunion. Not with apology. Not with explanation. It ends with self-respect. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You didn't lose someone when they broke down in front of others. You found yourself when you stopped waiting in silence. And from this place, whatever love enters your life next will meet you clearly, openly, and without fear. That's the ending that matters most.